And then we'll
It's 7 o'clock. Shall we start the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Poland. Here. Hofstadter.
Here.
Shoemaker.
Here.
Kahn.
Here.
Hoffy. Here.
Thank
And
you.
Vaughn.
Sorry. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. If we have any visitors that wish to address council this evening, we're going to ask you to please step up, speak into the mic, and state your name for the record. Okay? Do we have visitors that wish to address council this evening? Yes, sir.
My name is Aaron Miller. Do you want me to go ahead now?
Yeah.
So I represent the Fraternal Order of Eagles. I'm on the board of trustees. We have been thinking about putting a flagpole up. I've reached out to Nate, and Nate advised me to come in here and speak with everyone and kind of get the council's blessing and see if there was anything that you would specify. So from what I understand, we would like to put a flagpole up, 30 foot, and it would require us to cut in about an 18-inch by 18-inch square into the sidewalk. Because the sidewalk is owned by the village, we would need permission to go forward. So basically what that would entail is cutting an opening. We would call and make sure that none of the water lines or any of the utilities would be in place. And about a 3-foot deep base. Flagpole 30 inches high, and it would have a 5 by 8 American flag.
30 feet,
Yes.
30 feet high.
30 feet high.
Okay.
So we just, ask that we give you a blessing to do that, and that's why I'm here tonight. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
How close to the building would the flagpole be?
We'd like to keep it almost closer to the street. We can move it towards the building if necessary, but basically, the way that we've decided it would look best is if it would be in line with the trees or the old coin meters. So
Where the
the
parking meter
parking
was.
meters have kind of old circular indents where they used to be. We'd kind of like to keep it in line with that if we could.
And you would keep it in line with the parking tee, that way it wouldn't obstruct anyone trying to open a car door?
Correct, yes.
And height-wise, where would the top of the flagpole be in relation to the top of the building?
So I'm not exactly sure how tall these buildings are downtown. We think that it should be in line. So basically, you figure each floor is about 10 feet. So there's two floors and maybe 10 foot of facade. So it should be right in line with the tops of the buildings.
Okay. So it would not be necessarily above the tops of the
No, I don't
okay.
think so the goal is to kind of keep it, but it shouldn't be a huge obstructive thing. But we would like to just have an American flag out front.
And if it is 8 feet, an 8-foot flag, would there be any issue with that getting tangled on the front of the building or hitting the building, anything?
Well, so that's, I guess that's one of the reasons why we'd like to keep it closer to the street, first moving in towards the building.
Okay.
At 8 feet, we should have enough clearance. You think maybe an angle way, I think that it should be fine.
Okay.
But, I guess I haven't measured the sidewalk to make sure, but I can do that.
I'm fairly certain you're over 8 feet sidewalk depth there, so it should be far enough away if you're out towards the street. It shouldn't catch on the building.
I think it sounds great, Aaron. I might be biased, but I think it sounds
Thank
great.
you.
Nate, from a zoning perspective, do you have any concerns, anything?
So when Eric called me, he was, I think, the third person from the Eagles to call me about it, and I apologized to him because I told the first two, well, yeah, I mean, it's a flag. We don't really have any regulations on a flag. It's on your property, and then it hit me. It's not on their property. It's on our property, so that's why he's here tonight. So, no, I mean, there's nothing zoning-wise that restricts a flag. The only reason is it's on our property, or in the public right-of-way, I should say, not on their private property, like majority of flagpoles would be.
Would you like that from the building somehow?
So what we'd like is to have a solar powered light on top.
Okay.
So it should never have to be moved up and down. It should always be lit at night.
motion.
I'll make a motion to approve it based on what he's presented here with the height and the location and keeping it in line with the parking.
I'll second that.
Vaughn,
Aye.
Coffee,
Aye.
Poland, Hofstadter,
Aye.
Shoemaker,
Aye.
and Khan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other visitors?
Can I reserve the right to ask questions or speak after I hear discussion of things today? Do I have to come right up there?
No.
Okay, then I'd like to reserve that right.
Anyone else?
When should I talk or
Well-
ask you?
Please step up to the mic and state your name for the record, and you may address council.
Hi, I'm Wayne Norr. Reason I came down, I'm not sure, I think I talked to Nate a little bit, maybe, I'm sure. We have a son that's got paralyzed from the neck down, and, we bring him down to town, watch play ball, and then we also take him across town, like if we go hunting, then through Hunt for Hope, we rent the building, I'm involved with Hunt for Hope down here at the church house. Then we take them down to we stay at, our handicapped people stay at the motel. And then we take them out to the woods to hunt. And we got a ATV, a Gator, Lars Ranger. It's got license plates, it's turning signals, and it's got, we got insurance for it and everything. We keep it up to date on it, for legal wise, on the road wise. And we've been coming here in town ever since, well, a year ago. I think it was a year ago, it was on the Bargain Hunter ad in it. So it was saying about turning signals and everything. So we brought our son down and to Walmart and all the places. We didn't have a problem with anybody. We tried to pay attention to everything, you know, stay legal with. Till the other day, I got stopped and I talked to the officers. And so that I made an attempt to come in and be at your meeting, see what we can do to work it out. He's paralyzed from the neck down. And he likes, his sports was playing ball, he was a softball player. And he's still hard in it. And we took him down to North Carolina. He got elected for going down there through Hunt for Hope that we have here in town for special needs children. He got selected to go bear hunting. So we took him down, but we got to take him into the woods with the ATV. And so that's what we do down here in town when we have that Hunt for Hope. But my son, when we're on the farm, we come down and eat maybe something on Tractor Supply or so. And then we try to come in the back roads and try to stay off the main roads. But what can we do for his sake? I'm here to listen to what we can negotiate. I feel we have, we can take him up in Worcester, no problem, because that's what the regulations are with turning signals, mirrors, brake lights, and we want to stay, do what we can to stay legalized, so it's road legalized. And is there anything, yeah, can we keep on bringing him downtown? He likes watching play ball, so, yeah, and hunting.
Basically, council, what this comes down to is you decide not to pass any type of ordinance to allow UTV usage in the village of Millersburg. And I believe this gentleman was asking for a concession to that ruling.
Well, I voted yes to allow it, so maybe some of you who voted no can talk to him.
This is an ATV.
It's a Polaris Ranger, brand new. We got actually, there was, actual money had been made up for him. But we took it out to get a mate for a ramp so he can drive it in. His wheelchair up into ATV. He drives his head array. If you've got Instagram, you can check him out, called Fight for Johnny. There's a book out called Fight for Johnny. He was paralyzed, 241, October 4th. From 2020, driver fell asleep, went left to center. My son was sitting in the back, and yeah, there's more long story, but we want to forget about the driver and just stay focused from here on out. And our guys we're waiting on a chop. He was doing, he done, worked for Premier Fence and Deck in Mount Hope, Bunker Hill. And Eric Detweiler, he was an excellent helper there, and he asked me, he said, Dad, that fall, he said, Dad, will you sign off for me for a license, get a license earlier? I said, I will, and for 2 circumstances, I said, there's no drinking and driving, and if I catch you anytime, he said, no, I just want it for work. And I said, I'll sign off. But 2 weeks before we had plans to do that, God had other plans. So, yeah. So I'm here to, whatever we can do, I want to make life easy for you too. But we like to, he likes to come down to town. He enjoys it. They took him to the fair, my son took him to the fair, and yeah, he enjoys doing his rest of his life. We want to make it as ongoing, and we're taking him out to, he's got a pick for going out to Wyoming, Coyote, Wyoming, going elk hunt this fall. And so, but we're waiting for a motor home somewhere to show up yet. We don't have a way to go yet. So, yeah, that's, we're just want to do what's right, and we want to correspond with you as a community, and me as coming down through town. I work at Kime Lumber, and every morning we go through town. If we see something out of hand, we call Millersburg Police. And we're here to support each other. So whatever we can do, if you don't want to make a decision, I'm not saying you have to make a decision tonight, but if you want to, that's fine. I'm here to push whatever we can do to work together.
Thank you. Council?
My question is, do we have the authority to vote for an ATV? It's an ATV, it's not a UTV. My understanding was that we only had the authority as a village council to vote for UTVs.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Why do you think it's an ATV and not a UTV?
Okay, well, I don't know, maybe it's a UTV. It's a Polaris Ranger.
Does it have a dump bed?
Huh?
Does it have a dump bed?
Yeah.
But if he has a license, then it can't be a UTV.
Right.
And Bob, since our discussion the last time about this issue, nothing has changed at the state level in the laws of any kind?
No, yeah, it hasn't.
I guess I'm not inclined to make provisions. I don't know that we can legally make provisions, and once you make one, you know, it's a continuous thing that starts eating away, but I don't know that we can make provisions based on that.
Well, again, you know, like, just like we went through before, if it happens to be a UTV, you could allow it, but you'd have to have an inspection program. ATVs, there's no provision that the municipality has the power to allow an ATV on village streets. So.
I mean, I feel for the family, I really do, but nothing has changed legally since the last time that we discussed this. It's, you know, nothing has changed from a legal perspective, and we just can't, at what point do we start? I agree with Tom, once you start granting exemptions, if we are allowed even to grant exemptions, it becomes a slippery slope of where do those start and stop.
Yeah, it's a tough fact situation. It's a very tough fact situation. In the law, there's a saying that bad facts make bad law, and by bad facts I mean this is a very, very sad case, and everybody would be inclined to, you know, make the law to fit that, but sometimes that's not the right thing to do because of the slippery slopes, and if you make an exception for one, you have to make an exception for all. If you're even legally allowed to do. You know, like I said, ATV can't do it. UTV, you could pass an ordinance saying that they're allowed on any street where the speed limit's under 35 miles an hour. So.
What's the difference in between UTV and ATV?
There's, the definition of UTV basically is like an ATV with a bed, okay? It sounds to me like you have a UTV. It might say so on the title, okay? But as I said before, the definition that is on the title, Ohio has a specific definition of what a UTV is, and maybe, you know, that your Gator was made in another state, Minnesota, let's say, and the definition of UTV is utility vehicle is different in Minnesota than it is in Ohio. That's why you can't necessarily go by what the title says, but it's an indication of what the manufacturer considers it to be.
So according to that, because it's got seat belts, we got air conditioner and heat, because he can't control his temperature, so we have to get an air conditioner and a heater.
Right. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It says bed. It's
Hydraulic steering and everything, brakes and.
right.
My suggestion to you, this ridiculous law was made because one person called down to the State House and complained. So maybe if you call down there, they'll change it.
Like, we were allowed to bring it into Worcester, but you mean, is it just for Millersburg?
According to this individual over here that interpreted that stuff, he says, that man there, that you can't, unfortunately. However, you can still, to this day, use a tractor. No seat belts, nothing. So if you can rig up the tractor, you can drive through the village streets all day long. It's done every day.
It's not, wouldn't be handy for him.
Well, I know, I'm just trying to make a point. They allow one thing, but not the other. Even though the one thing from field to field isn't being used from field to field, it's being used from their home to Walmart, Roadies, and what have you. They pick and choose what they choose to enforce.
I would agree that, you know, the state really needs to take action to clean this up. We mentioned that the last time this issue came here, and it still holds. That the state needs to clear it up, because they put the restrictions on us.
I believe you should have, if you ever have, there's guys on the road, I seen it, actually just coming in, I seen people driving in with, their plates look pretty frog. And, but there's work to be out there. And that, it could be money in your pocket if people come in with no license plates, registration, insurance under UTVs, if you wanna call them UTVs instead of ATVs. Charge them $100, $1,000, I don't care. I mean, that's money in the Millersburg town, you can make money. I mean, I'd be fortunate to help you. Somebody to, you know, make so there, people driving in town, I respect, no hot rod, we don't wanna do that. I don't feel, the town people live in town, they don't wanna have people raring around, stuff like that. And I support that.
Council, you want to just let it go with your previous decision?
I think like Tom indicated, we should try to get clarification from the state again, one way or another, and go from there.
I think the state needs to change the law. I think the clarification part was correct. But
So right now, we're gonna leave their decision the way it was, which unfortunately does not allow you to bring your vehicle into town. It's not saying that won't change sometime in the future.
So are you gonna work with the state, or you want me to call?
You should call.
You got a phone number for me?
I can get one for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other visitors wish to address council this evening?
I just want to say, Wayne, I'm sorry for your circumstances, really am. And I hope that at some point this can turn around.
May we have a motion to suspend the reading of the minutes?
Second.
Poland. Coffee.
Aye.
Hofstadter.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Khan.
Aye.
Vaughn.
Any additions or corrections? You have a motion to pass.
So moved.
Second.
Hofstadter.
Aye.
Vaughn.
Aye.
Poland. Shoemaker.
Aye.
Khan.
Aye.
Coffee.
Aye.
Thank you. Bill Resolution 2023-19. Any questions on the bills?
Could we have the July legal services for $13,832.50? Could we have that, a breakdown of that at some point in the future?
Sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions? You have a motion to pay the bills.
I so move. Shoemaker.
Second.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Vaughn.
Aye.
Poland. Hofstadter.
Aye.
Khan.
Aye.
Coffee.
With that correction, aye.
Sure.
Thank you.
Chief?
I have a few things. Since we met last night, I talked about, we were looking at, in the process of hiring a dispatcher. During our break, we did offer a position to Kelly Yoder from Baltic. He's gonna start sometime the week of August 26th. Was working with Michelle, I'm not sure if they figured out an actual start date, but the week of August 26th is when he's gonna start in dispatch as a non-certified dispatcher. That then will put us at 3 full-time dispatchers. Once he's trained and cleared, then we'll go back to 16-hour shift dispatch coverage. We'll work 8-hour shifts, so that's something that's on the horizon. That is a good thing. Also, while we're on our break, Jeff Flay and Michelle Markley both have completed their supervisor probationary period. And so I need to ask for them to be removed from that and for Jeff to get his increase to 7.5%. We do for half of it when we first start them, the second half at the completion. Michelle had already gotten her first half. Whenever we promoted her, then she got her second half already. So I guess I need a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second it.
Coffee.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Poland. Hofstadter.
Aye.
Khan.
Aye.
Vaughn.
I did get my new cruiser tonight. It's not the cruiser that I had ordered. Found out a week and a half ago that Ford canceled our orders. This was one that an agency had ordered and decided they didn't want it, so I was luckily able to pick it up. Doesn't have quite all the options, but at least now I have the car and we'll go forward with getting things ordered, get it upfitted, and we'll go from there. Once I get it upfitted, I'll let Nate know and he can take the process of getting rid of our old cruiser. So, sounds like there's gonna be several agencies that are not getting cruisers this year, so at least we snagged that. September 16th, which I believe was a Saturday evening, I don't know if you guys have heard it or not, but the Truckers for Christ parade of trucks, I'm not sure exactly how to describe it, is gonna be coming through town. This will be the first year that they're going to come through town. They normally go from the Kidron area down into Berlin, loop around, go up into Mount Hope. However, this year they decided they're gonna come down to the fairgrounds. So they're scheduled to leave Kidron between 5 and 5:30. We've tried to emphasize we wanted them to be earlier than later, just for the fact of having officers out on the street. It's estimated between 150 to 200 units in this truck parade. It's not all semis, it's trucks and trailers, all kinds of different things. We will not be shutting the streets down because the chances of them staying a tight group coming from Berlin into here. So what we'll do is we'll give them egress. They'll go westbound through, eastbound will still be maintained as best we can. Obviously north and south, when the trucks come through, things will be shut down. So they're estimating somewhere between 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock is when they will come through town. So I've already notified my staff. I'll send an email out to the auxiliary, but try to get them through town as quick as possible. hopefully it'll be later in the evening where traffic might let up, but, so that's on the horizon for that. And that is pretty much all that I have. Thank you.
Matt, I wanted to bring to your attention, I don't know if you saw it or not, that there was an ad in the Bargain Hunter for police officers for Wadsworth.
Yes, I seen that. Yep.
That scare us?
Do what?
Does that scare us?
There's a lot of ads around for a lot of agents. I mean, everybody's still looking, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
At least right now, we're full staff.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can keep what we have. It appears everybody seems to be happy, so.
I want to commend you too on the presentation at our last meeting with the officers on, you know, their extra
Yep.
everything. I
Thank
thought it
you.
was really nice.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Can we get that out on the text message for people in town
Yeah,
for the 16th?
the trucks.
Yeah, for the trucks, so people know.
Thank you, Chief. Nate?
All right. First item of real substance, Rising Sun has been on site for our storm sewer project. They've got the 36-inch installed across Grant Street. That went pretty well. They began working on some of the 60-inch, starting at the creek and heading east while they're waiting on their structures to arrive, but ran into some really horrible soil conditions just east of the trail, and ended up with a pretty large hole. So had to stop till they get their new, or a bigger excavator in. That's coming tomorrow. So they'll be back in to finish that crossing across the trail and then keep laying pipe. Once structures are in, get them connected and hopefully move on.
Let me interrupt there. What type of soil makes the difference on excavator? I mean, clay?
So what they ran into was super saturated sand,
Oh,
and took a couple scoops out of the bank, and it just, for lack of a better word, it puked.
yeah, okay.
It blew out. Yeah. Which is, I know that sounds funny, but it's scary. It's not a good
Okay.
situation, because you end up going from a 5-foot ditch to a 20-foot hole real
Wow.
quick, and you can lose equipment and people real quick.
Okay.
So, had to pull off, and it got ugly. There's gas lines exposed that weren't exposed. There's a lot of things going on that weren't planned on. So, get a larger excavator, more trench boxes, and fight through it. So, I'm meeting on Wednesday with the OHM advisors group. That's the procured planners that were provided through the state funding for the Appalachian Community Grant. Just to start scoping out our specific project components and hopefully keep that rolling through to, I think it's October sometime when that application's due. This was one that kind of fell between the cracks from when I was on vacation till this meeting. The Wolfpack 4-H Club contacted me and said they'd done a fundraiser to provide dog play equipment for up at Deer Run Park, the dog park. And they installed it. They did all this stuff and installed it, and I wasn't here to tell you about it, so I apologize about that. It's been there for a little while now.
That's awesome.
It's pretty cool. If you get a chance, go up and check it out. I'm hoping the dogs are enjoying it. I got a call from Lane Troyer, who's the owner of the Marybrook Baking Company. He had an idea. They're set up down at Save and Serve quite often. He had an idea to see if we'd consider allowing them to have a food truck rally next year. And he just threw out the second Tuesday of May, June, and July up at Deer Run Park. He's thinking 8 to 10 trucks. I talked to him a little bit about, what time of day is he thinking. He was open to, his first thought was like 3 to 8 kind of thing, or 3 to 7 maybe. I told him there's a lot of people eat lunch up there, and if they knew there's food trucks coming, I bet they'd support it. So he'd be open to lunch hours as well. And then we also talked about the Little League schedule. When there's ball games going on, that place is packed. You're parking at the library a lot of times to be able to walk to the ball fields. Again, that could be a good thing for these vendors,
Yeah.
but you're kind of hurting the Little League's concession sales too, which they use quite a bit. So he was more than willing to work around the schedule. If, you know, if there's no game at Deer Run that night, it's obviously not a problem. But, so just wanted to get your thoughts, see what, I personally think it's a great idea. These food truck rallies are a huge draw all over the state and nation,
Yeah.
obviously. So I think it'd be worth trying. That's a great place to try it. You've got all kinds of parking. You aren't blocking streets anywhere.
I think it's a great idea. I love it.
You know, if we can work out the ball, you know, because you don't want to hurt them and
Yeah.
and you don't want to take away the parking for the people
Right.
that are there.
I'd like to talk to the Little League board, the youth baseball board. Maybe they'd be in favor of, if they can work something out, you know, maybe get these guys together, and if they can work together, that could be a huge benefit.
Give part of their sales to the Little League.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if they, the trucks that are there that night, their food doesn't directly conflict with the
Exactly.
the
Right,
concession
if it's
stand.
different.
Yeah.
But the concession stand's pretty limited usually.
Yeah.
Hot dogs and pizza,
Candy.
pretzels.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, is everybody okay with forging ahead on that?
Mm-hmm.
Trial
Yeah.
next year and
Yeah.
see how it goes? And I'll work with him on the specifics. Okay. Oak Hill Cemetery, Judge Lee and Attorney Chad Yoder came in. They're both on the Volunteer Guardianship Board for Holmes County. Chad had prepared a ordinance for council that Solicitor Hines and I have been looking at. It just lays out, kind of defines what that indigent burial area will be, who it's for, obviously indigent, it defines indigent burials, how this is all going to work, and then he also had some applications prepared for 99% of them will come from a funeral director that would be handling these. I think it's a good idea to have some process in place before we do all this. So we're going to be reviewing that, and we'll get that to you once we're ready for it. But one thing that came up was he had, in his draft, he had left a couple blanks, and he asked, do we have a specific name for that area of the cemetery? I'm not creative. I don't. I didn't know.
I got all kind. I got 6 ideas right here.
All right. Is that something you guys want to name, or do you want to just leave it as the indigent burial site at Oak Hill? I mean, it doesn't have.
I don't like that
No.
name.
No.
Yeah.
It is kind of cold. I think you could come up with something.
Okay, I'll tell you the 5 and then I'll tell you my favorite. Memory Field, Angel Point, Beautiful Soul Memorial, Caring Grove, Peace Gardens, and my favorite is Peaceful Oaks at Oak Hill.
I got nothing.
This is not my thing. That's not a creative person.
Those are my ideas.
The forgotten few.
I just think we need something dignifying.
Yeah.
Indigent sounds
I like-
terrible.
yeah.
I like
Yeah.
something that will give them dignity.
I agree.
Yeah.
We don't want to think they're forgotten.
Right, that's right, because they're not.
What was that last one?
Peaceful Oaks at Oak Hill.
Oaks,
Oaks.
Oaks.
Oaks?
Oh, I mean, that's
That was a question, not a statement.
Oh,
OAKS.
yeah, Peaceful Oaks. Yeah, like the tree, like Oak Hill,
Yeah.
Peaceful Oaks.
I think that's pretty fitting considering it's kind of tucked into the
Yeah.
tree line there
Yeah.
by the columbarium.
You should give those names to the volunteer guardianship program
Do you want to write them
Yeah.
down?
To do that.
if they
See if
wanna-
they like any of those.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get it.
The last, got the Eagles taken care of here. The credit request from Mary should have been attached to your packets, from Linda Kowalski, 267 North Grant. Had a water leak under the house, used 17,000 gallons. Typically uses 1,000 to 2,000 gallons per quarter. Obviously under the trailer, or under the home, it didn't go into the sewer, so requesting a $12,000 or 12,000 gallon credit for the sewer portion of the bill, which is $28.20.
So,
Vaughn.
Aye.
Olin. Hofstadter.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Khan. and Hoffy. Aye.
I believe that's all I had.
Thank you. Bobby?
All right. Acknowledgement for the July financials has been circulated, and the only other thing right now is that the state's final approval for the liquor transfer, the liquor license transfer, that Trex for Daybreak Bistro, has come back, and we're left only with, do we want to request a public hearing for that or not? It was approved previously, but we still do have that right to have a public hearing about that liquor license Trex, if that's what you would like. So either way, we just need a motion to either request a public hearing process, or that we don't want that.
I'll make a motion that we don't want that.
I'll second.
Huffy?
Public hearing.
A public hearing.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Poland. Hofstadter.
Aye.
Khan.
Aye.
And Vaughn. And I think that is it for me. Karen, did I miss anything? Do we have anything else?
Nope, just the ordinances for
Right. Okay.
Thank you. All right, moving on to legislation. I'll read approve resolution 2023-20. A resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorize the necessary tax levies and certify them to the county auditor. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Vaughn.
Aye.
Khan.
Aye.
Poland. Hofstadter.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
And Hoffy.
Aye.
Thank you. First reading of ordinance 2023-104 by title only. An ordinance amending zoning map zone territory of the village of Millersburg. Are there any questions?
Oh. No, I'm sorry. I didn't have a question about that. We already talked about that.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the public.
Never
meeting.
mind, sorry.
Okay, then I have, I'd like to read resolution 2023-22 by title only. A supplemental appropriation resolution for the general fund to declare an emergency. Whereas the clerk treasurer of the village of Millersburg has advised council it's necessary to appropriate the sum of $50,000 and 0 cents to the general fund to meet current expenses for professional fees. Are there any questions?
Are we gonna need more than that?
We've got 5 months left of monthly bills, so I think we'll be okay. Depends on what.
Okay.
You get them? I've been trying.
May we have a motion to suspend the second and third readings?
Second.
Poland. Hofstadter.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Khan.
Aye.
Hoffy.
Aye.
Vaughn.
May we have a motion to approve?
Vaughn. Poland. Hofstadter.
Aye.
Shoemaker.
Aye.
Khan.
Aye.
And Hoffy.
Aye.
Thank you. Any committee reports? Old business.
I'd like to bring up the issue of the traffic tickets. As you know, or a lot of you know, over the July 4th holiday, there was a push by law enforcement to enforce the traffic laws, which a lot of law enforcement agencies do that over the holidays. And there were actually about, I think, 40 tickets that were written.
37.
Well, but there were more that didn't need to be dismissed. 37 of those, it was discovered, were written up by the turn between Clay Street and Worcester Road. It's, I think, only been around here since 1979, but I think it's Clay Street up until the turn, and then beyond that, it was it's Worcester Road. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Matt discovered that the speed limit there is not actually 25, it's 35. So a lot of these tickets were written, you know, X number of miles per hour in a 25 when actually it was 35. All of the people who got tickets were driving over 35, but the ticket was wrong, and it would have had been amended. 37 tickets would have had to be amended to say 35 and not 25. So in any event, Matt and the mayor and I discussed, you know, what should we do? And really it's Matt and the mayor's call to, and they decided that those cases should be dismissed. And so we came to council, not because you had any decision-making capacity, but just to let you know it was pending litigation and you know what we were doing. Now, what happened after the meeting is, you know, what everybody needs to know. And that is, we dismissed all but 14 of them by what's called a nolli prosequi, which just means the prosecutor just says, we're not going to prosecute this case. Ed Hebb, who is the assistant prosecuting attorney for Holmes County, does the municipal court work. So I ghost wrote all of, you know, the nolli prosequis, just because, you know, it wasn't their mistake, it was ours. So I ghost wrote all those, and also he wanted 14 of them to be done through a motion to dismiss, and in the motion it explains what happened. So since the last meeting, all of those cases have been dismissed. Now, 23 of them were brand new cases. 14 of them had been written in the month of June, but it was for that very same area. So even though the people had, you know, waived the penalty and all, you know, they had paid in, they didn't contest it. We thought the fairest thing to do would be to dismiss those two, because fact of the matter is, they were just, everybody, all 37 of them were just a few miles an hour over 35, which we discovered is the actual speed limit. So they would not have been stopped had the officers known the true speed limit. And I'm not blaming the officers because there was a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit sign there, but we learned that that was meant to be for Washington Street and not Clay Street or Worcester Road. Now, this is really my mistake. I should have said in the executive meeting, you know what, this does not have to be kept confidential, because the fact of the matter is, right after that meeting, we did the nolli prosequis, you know, that made it public what was going on, and we also did the motions to dismiss, which explained everything. And what was in the motion to dismiss is exactly what I told you in executive session that happened. So it was not confidential, even though things in executive session are confidential, but I could have told you that after the meeting, you don't need to keep it confidential. So that might be a little bit confusing, but that's the way it is. But what we did want to do is we did want to send out notice to all the defendants that were affected before they heard it on the streets. I might have said, you know, just hold up for, you know, a few days, and then, you know, you can talk to anybody you want to. So that's what we did. All 37 were dismissed. We wrote a letter to the 14. We wrote a letter to all 37 of them, and I can provide you a copy of that letter. They're all the same. All 37 letters are exactly the same. But basically, just explains what happened. What I just said about the speed limit, and you wouldn't have been picked up had we known the true speed limit. So I hope that explains what happened. It has been mentioned since then that perhaps it should be 25 all the way from, you know, basically the village limits, the hospital, all the way through the downtown area. And Nate and I have talked about that, and we can meet the definition of business district, and that, by the way, I'll just explain that to you real quick. The prima facie, which means the default miles per hour for a state road within a municipality is 35 miles an hour. Okay, and in order to make it 25 miles an hour, it has to be a business district. Okay, so, and there's a definition of what a business district is in the Ohio Revised Code. Just from what Nate and I have looked at on the GIS map, it looks to me like we could make it business district from Clinton Street north all the way to the cable office. And then now the problem is from the cable office north to Village Motors, it's residential. But we could make it then 25 from Village Motors north all the way basically to the village limits. I've taught, you know, to me that was unwieldy that you'd have it 25 and then 35 for, you know, 800 feet and then 25 again. So I talked to a guy named Dave Hoffman, who is from ODOT, District 11, and he said you would have to go through a traffic study to have that declared 25 all the way through there. But he did say too, if you have a 35 on one end of it, or I'm sorry, 25 on one end of it, 25 on the south end of it too, it's more likely that they'll say, yeah, it should be 25 in that residential area also. So that's something that, you know, maybe council wants to consider. I'm not really sure. And then also it's been mentioned that maybe it should be 25 from Adams Street south somewhere down the hill someplace. I'm not sure where that 25 would stop. So that's another thing that could possibly be done. I think it would have to be a traffic study because from Adams Street down the hill is residential, so it wouldn't fit the definition of a business district. But if we can convince ODOT that it should be 25 through the traffic study, then it can be 25. So that's really all I have to say. I'd be glad to take any questions from anybody.
Do they charge for that study?
We'd have to pay for it, for the study. It would be a third party would do the study.
How expensive is that?
What did he tell you, 5 to 10?
$5,000 to $10,000, yeah. And you had mentioned that maybe Omega might.
Yeah,
pay
Omega,
for part of that?
I need to check with them to see if they'd help us with that. Sometimes ODOT requires certain certifications that they may not accept an Omega traffic study for a speed study.
But is it really necessary to go that far north? Because it's not a real accident-prone area, correct, Chief?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So I don't know if it's really necessary to drop the speed limit all the way to the north of the hospital.
How about from Clinton to north? I mean, is that an accident issue?
I don't think it's an accident issue, but I personally think if we started a 35 mile an hour, I think 35 mile an hour is too much. I mean, the suggested speeds are, I think, 20 on one side and 25 on the other.
You're talking about the turn, right?
Yeah, at the curve, if it's, because I have thought that it was 25 there for as long as I've been here. If we now posted 35, I mean, we were getting people 10, 15 miles an hour over before when it was posted 25. If you tack on 10, 15 miles an hour on the 35, I think that's gonna be an issue.
Well, and that sidewalk is right by the street. It's terrifying.
Yes.
Even when they're going 25, it's terrifying.
What about when you're coming up Washington? and you have that point. So you're coming north on Washington, and you've got to watch people come around that curve.
Mhm.
And then you've gotta watch people coming over.
Coming down.
Most people don't take that way, because that's right there also.
Mhm.
And I talked with ODOT, and they said that can be taken into consideration also.
And may I ask a question as well? That 25 sign has been there for over 25 years. How many other people got tickets over this period of time for speeding? And how is it fair to those people? I mean, how many of them may have lost driver's license because of pointing out?
Tickets, points,
You know, like how they got
prices,
discovered
et
just
cetera.
this late after so many years?
We just discovered it, that it was,
Who discovered
Right.
that? What was the
Right.
first domino that fell that made this whole thing start?
I can say that nobody was issued a citation for 25 miles an hour in those two areas. The time that I was a chief, and I don't know the 3 years since I've been chief, but there's no, it was known that it was 35 mile an hour. The sign was met. Actually, the sign started out with speed limit 25 miles an hour ahead, and somehow got changed from ahead to begin. I'm not sure when that happened, but it was ahead for Washington Street, not for Worcester Road.
That doesn't make any sense considering the road that it was on.
And there is
Be-
this.
because it-
Who would've-
because it
who
had-
would've changed that?
Because it had to be posted before you got onto Washington Street. The issue was with Geneva School of Dance, to get a warning before they got to that point. That's why it had to be posted where it was. That's why it said ahead. Then the first 25 mile an hour sign was on Washington Street, not on Worcester Road. There's never been a 25 mile an hour sign on Worcester Road past Washington Street.
From what I've seen on Google Earth going all the way back to 2008, that sign stood as what it is. I
It said
actually
25,
posted a
nothing
photo
else.
of that.
Right, it said 25.
But
Yeah.
it didn't say
It didn't
ahead.
say begin, it didn't say ahead.
begin. But
And the
if I
entire,
drive 25 house, sign there tells me 25 starts right here.
and the entire time we've lived here, there was never any addendum underneath that sign. It was strictly 25. My question is, who would have put that sign there, and what would have caused that to be put there? And they did not follow the proper procedures
I
for
just-
putting that sign up, much less who took it down recently without following those same procedures. Those procedures are in place for a reason.
Do we know ODOT didn't put it up? How do we know ODOT didn't put it up?
I don't know the procedures to take a sign down other than taking it down.
I-
but-
When this first came to light,
From a
ODOT,
post, from a post on Facebook, is
Well,
that how this first came to light?
I believe so, okay?
Who saw the post?
I did not see the
Tom
post.
saw the post.
But what I'm trying to say is, when this came to light, ODOT was contacted. They cannot even tell us where the speed limits are going through town.
Why did this become a problem all of a sudden, 20-some years?
'Cause we s-
New cops come in and write a ticket, or there's a sign that says 25, and that's a problem. So you're telling me every sign in this village, we better document how it got put there. Every sign, we should find documentation, because if there's one wrong, how do we know others aren't?
My understanding is, looking at ODOT's website themselves, it says that it requires a speed study, or traffic study. And there's actually several steps in place to prevent that sort of thing. So, like she said, how do we know what the speeds are in certain areas? Because I can tell you right now, coming down our hill, where we live at, people go a lot faster than 35. And it actually should be a lot slower than 35, it should be 25.
State law dictates in a business district, it is 25 miles an hour. So right now, if you look at our sign, it starts in front of Wayne Savings Community Bank, which is Clinton Street, and it runs south to Adams. Because once you get past Adams, you really don't have much business going south, just like you don't have a whole lot of business going north on Clinton. Now, we could take into account Park National Bank, we could take in Nahoco, and we could take in Village Motors storage building that they use, the Victorian House, and the cable office. That could all fall into the business district, which then your 25 mile an hour speed would start right where that sign was.
That building that sits on that curve, Village Motors owns that.
Yeah, that white one, yes. Yeah, so that'd be considered a business. So in theory, based on what the state law says, we could put that 25-mile-an-hour sign right back up, and that's where that 25-mile-an-hour zone would start going north. Now coming south, there can't be what, more than a 300-foot gap between businesses to be considered a business district.
Right.
So once you're past Adams, you really don't have a whole lot of area to extend that 25 further south.
Unless it'd be through a traffic study.
Yes.
So we need a traffic study.
If council wants to reduce the speed limits,
Well, we need to
Yes.
reduce it and we need to guarantee that the speed limits we have are correct because we do not want to do this again.
I agree, and I can tell you that the guy, David Hoffman from ODOT, I've asked him, can you find where the speed limits in Millersburg were established? So far, he can't. So while we're at it, we should pass legislation. And this is the way you do it if it's a business district, okay? The village would just sign a certificate, so to speak, saying this area on this state route meets the legal definition of a business district. And then we pass an ordinance. Strasburg just did this, and David Hoffman was telling me how they did it. He sent me the paperwork. Basically, Strasburg went down on 250 there, went through every property and said whether it was a business or not. And then by doing that, they met the definition of business district. And ODOT's not going to disagree with that. They just want the correct procedure to be followed, that, you know, that the town passes an ordinance saying that this is a business district and therefore it's 25 and not 35. So, and then the other way, if it doesn't fit the definition of business district, if you want it 25, it would have to be justified through a traffic study.
So basically, if council determines that the business district north goes to the cable office, we just pass an ordinance. And going south.
Yeah, but yeah, there's a little bit more
Well,
to
what
it
I'm
than that,
saying,
but yeah.
So but going south, you couldn't go much past Auburn's Insurance because you got Millersburg Dental.
And Hobron's
and Auburn.
Insurance.
Basically, you couldn't go beyond that with the 25.
There's a car dealership right down past my house.
You can't have more than a 300-foot gap between businesses to be considered a business district.
I think, you know, but I think council was willing to spend the money for the traffic study. I mean, I'm having lived right there with where you live and where Andrea lives. The traffic is so horrible there. I think it should be 25.
You want to get some quotes, Nate?
Where do we want to say it?
I was gonna ask for, what are we looking at exactly, so I know what to tell people.
I would say the whole way down Clay Street.
There's a
Well,
lot
Clay
of-
I mean,
You're thinking
I know it goes to the bottom of the hill because if you're going 35 down that hill, there's no way you're gonna make that corner.
But I'm saying, how far, I mean, are you gonna extend it on to Washington Street? How far are we going south?
I would say at least around the corner.
Go down.
I mean, that's just safety.
Go down.
We can't say we're safe in some areas and not in
I
others.
went to the study where there wasn't gonna be any, okay, so I get people that, I thought they were gonna make it so you couldn't turn a certain way off No Name, and, I mean, you get people that turn off South Washington and they're coming around, and I can look every way, and all of a sudden, a car's come around off South Washington, and I'm backing out of my driveway. I thought, remember there was a study, and they were gonna not be able to turn
There was,
right
yeah.
on, left on No Name, and
There's an ODOT safety study,
what happened with it?
never got any funding.
So the study's,
They were gonna make a turn lane there too, weren't they?
They wanted to.
Yeah,
there's a lot of wrecks in front of that.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, there are.
So my question is, has precedent been set that if somebody puts a post on Facebook upset about a ticket or questioning a speed zone, that we then, we legislate through that, or how does that work? If somebody
I
posts,
sure as heck hope not. That makes us look like a laughing stock, in my opinion. We do not govern from Facebook.
so a post got put on Facebook about somebody not agreeing with a ticket, right?
Right.
And then that post, you said,
It wasn't even that location.
but then that's what opened up this whole thing.
Well, what I saw was Captain Lay's response that it was south of Washington Street and it was in a 35 or 25-mile-an-hour zone. I knew it wasn't a 25-mile-an-hour zone, so I contacted
If you
Captain
didn't
Lay.
sit on council, would you have been able to influence everything that's happened since?
Well, I'm assuming if I would call the captain and say this is
So
not a,
anybody could do that?
what?
Anybody could call?
I guess I knew factually that it wasn't, so I guess I had a little bit more information than anybody else.
You can always call and ask the question.
Oh, okay.
I hope we're not governing by Facebook.
Actually,
That it's that's not just saying that sounds ridiculous.
Bob Hines was wonderful and answered every question, and so did Matt King.
That's wonderful.
Every question,
Good.
everything that's been addressed tonight, I already knew because I asked the questions and they were ready.
Good.
I actually thought I saw a post and thought I was correcting a mistake. That's what I actually thought was happening, but apparently it's gotten another kind of life.
So, to go back, we wanna go from Adams Street to where? On going south?
I say Hobron's would be about the furthest you could go with a business district.
No, I'm saying for the speed
For the
study.
Oh,
For
speed
study.
Oh, for the speed, you wanna just go down to the three-way, down to
Yeah.
Napa?
Down to Napa? Yeah.
So I think we could do the business district down to Millersburg Dental. Is that what, yeah.
Well, you got Hobron's just south.
Hobron.
And then
is
Hobron's,
over
yeah,
there.
just south on the other side, yeah. So we could
Are we gonna,
probably do an ordinance on that, if that's what you want. And then from there south, you'd have to have a traffic study.
To me, another area that's confusing, I mean, you come in 39, you're coming in town, you're coming east. It's 45, and then it's almost 25 when you get to the corporation limit, or at the bottom of Grant Street, which you've got the gas station, you've got the nursing home, or the adult home, the swimming pool, that's, money, that's all business through there. And so we have these weird speed limits.
I mean, that could be 25. Keep in mind, Bob, that ODOT doesn't regulate that, the village does. We're the ones that have to say to ODOT it's a business district, so therefore it should be 25. They won't just do it, oh, that's a business district, so let's put a 25-mile-an-hour sign there. If we initiated that, they would go along with it. It would be basically from the gas station there.
I mean, the traffic that comes in 39,
Your 300 foot
Yeah.
would never come into play there.
Because between,
Between the
The pole
businesses.
and,
yeah,
I mean,
right.
I'm not
It's
sure,
farther than
I'm not
300
sure if you
feet.
can get 300 feet between Foxes and the pool.
Yeah.
I think
don't-
you're beyond
I think
that.
that's too far
I think you're gonna start your business district at Grant Street, like it is now. Grant to Crawford.
keep in mind, after you cross the creek, it's out of town.
Yeah, parts of that are
Until
in.
you get
Parts are in, parts are out.
Corporation limit too.
Okay.
I think everything on the north side
Both
is,
sides.
is all in the village, but where's
No.
it stop? Where does,
It stops from the creek out to probably Belser, I think.
Well,
Because Old 39 is the
Yeah.
exit to the pool, and so the 39 actually extended across.
right. And then, but the south or north of 39 is within the village, starting at,
Well, no,
Part-
part of it is. Because, the
The fair-
corporation line goes behind all those houses,
Right.
out west,
right,
before it comes back to 39. Right.
okay.
All right, go ahead and get quotes on speed studies, and we can look at our business districts.
Excuse me, but your playground area, that would be considered as business too, wouldn't it?
I don't know if that would meet the definition of
Same
commercial.
as, it would be considered same as
Is
the
a church,
pool.
is a business.
I don't, there was some question on it, whether a church qualifies.
I mean, we'll look into it,
Yeah.
what constitutes a business district.
Just looking at the letter of the law, a playground wouldn't meet the definition of business, but, it's common sense that you want slower speeds around the playground.
Yes, that's true.
Bob, I'm curious, you said that the town of Strasburg just went through kind of remapping everything and redefining. What was the reasoning for that? I mean, what prompted theirs, do you know?
I don't know. I mean, I've driven through Strasburg many times. It's a pain in the bazooki to go through there because it's so long on 250 anyhow. I think they must have thought that people were just driving too fast. I'm not sure exactly. I haven't talked to anybody from Strasburg.
So they had a repaving project through town,
Okay,
and I think they eliminated some street parking, made maybe the center turn lane, did some things, and the community was in an uproar. There was a big controversy that went on for quite a while as that was all going on. So
Okay.
my guess is that when that repaving project had been initiated and all that controversy had come up, that's when they really took a hard look at things in Strasburg.
okay, thank you.
All right.
And it's probably realistic that a lot of towns, if ODOT can't find where our speed limits were defined, you know, probably most towns, they probably couldn't, if they've been in effect forever, they probably are running into the same thing. So it probably is something that we should consider just for cleanup and
Just
to define everything.
Pass an ordinance
Yeah.
about all the business districts that exist, where you want them to be. Again, all of this would be 35, but for us saying that it's a business district and we want it 25, just so you know. By default, it's all 35.
All right, thank you, Bob. Now, with that discussion, does any visitors have any more questions or comments on that? All right, thank you. Any other old business? New business?
Are the trees downtown gonna get trimmed?
They are, yes.
Are they?
Yep.
Okay.
Could be as quickly as Wednesday of this week.
Wednesday, okay, good. That's good. I got smacked today and I prefer it to be a human than a tree. The other new business I have is the HDM bottom sign on our welcome signs looks horrific. What's going on with that?
Yeah, I asked her about it. She's getting new faces put on.
Okay. Is that coming soon or, I mean, it looks bad. I
don't
mean,
know.
I'd rather paint them than
Yeah.
have them look the way they
I
look.
don't know when they're coming
Okay.
in, but I can ask her.
Okay, thank you.
Any other new business? Any more questions or comments from visitors? If not, may we have motion to go in executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official.
Second.
Olin,
Aye.
Hostetter,
Aye.
Shoemaker,
Aye.
Khan,
Aye.
Coffee,
Aye.
and Vaughn.
Aye.